ladies and gents, it gives me great pleasure to welcome to our Smarter Eggs at the White Horse Red Chair, Mr. Dan Kiely.
Thank you very much for having me, Aidan. It's a real privilege to be here following such an illustrious company.
Well, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Great to have you here, Dan, because for all of us in the last few months, we're really beginning to, I guess, take pleasure and get excited about the story of VoxPro, because you guys have, you know, generated such great headlines and you've collected so many awards. You had the Cork Chamber's Company of the Year, the Deloitte Best Managed Company, and so on. So is it safe to say that 2014 has been a good year for you so far?
First of all, I'd like to talk about what 2013 meant to VoxPro in terms of the word award. Sounds very glamorous, and you know, everybody wants to get you know, to be acknowledged. But I want to give two tangible benefits the awards we won last year have meant to the company. The biggest accolade any company is ever going to get is being recognised by your own peers in your own hometown. So I don't think that whatever Linda and I and the team at VoxPro go on to achieve, nothing is ever going to top that, winning Cork Chamber Company of the Year. And just in terms of that story, we were flying to London to do a pitch on the Monday to two very successful, ultra successful Limerick brothers in their 20s, and I can't say any more than that. So we walked in the door of a building in Shoreditch. To any techies out there, people will know that's the tech hub of London. And the first thing that one of those brothers said was, congratulations on winning Cork Company of the Year. You must be very proud. And I was astounded that they actually even knew about it. And apparently, one of the speakers on the night was a shareholder in the company, and he tweeted out a congratulations message to Linda and I and all the team at VoxPro. And what better way to start off a sales pitch than to get congratulations from your potential customer. So that was one tangible benefit. But just in terms of recruitment and attracting a serious talent to the team at VoxPro, like 18 months ago, if somebody had asked who VoxPro were, I would say, even in the audience this evening, maybe 20%, 30%. And that followed through to people when we were engaging with them to become employees of VoxPro. Mm-hmm. But now it has flipped almost 100%. We rarely ever find anybody who hasn't heard of VoxPro in terms of, and that's an incredible benefit to us in terms of attracting talent to the team. Yeah. But also in terms of awards, you have to have a very strong team behind you to be able to go down that route, because they're incredibly hard work just to even be shortlisted, and time consuming, and there's a lot of events that have to be attended in the evening, so there's a lot of work involved.
Yeah, well, fair play to you for achieving all those. So I'm kind of fascinated, right, in the VoxPro Pro story, and we'll get into kind of the history bit in a second, but you guys are in such a as my American cousins would say, a vector right now, or rather a kind of a trajectory. So can you maybe give us a sense of how you would like the thing to develop in the next year or two? What does that look like in your mind?
Well, look, we're very clear in our vision and our strategy for the next 3 years in terms of we have a very clear roadmap to growing our workforce to 1,000 people in Cork. By the end of 2015. In fact, I think we'll over-deliver on that. We've just opened up our new office in Dublin on the 10th of March, and we're going to grow our numbers to 200 people up there over the next 18 months. So we've ambitious plans in Dublin as well. The end of this year will see us opening up our 2 centres in Eastern Europe, and we have a plan by the end of 2018 to have a presence in the 4 continents of the world. So that's where we're going.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well done. I'm curious, and I know a number of people have a good general sense of, what the company does and the offerings and the partnerships you have with some of the companies you've already talked about. But in terms of, let's say, what's hot at the moment, in terms of what client companies are looking for you guys to provide, what's those kind of key services that they need from you guys?
I think if somebody asked me what the VoxPro sizzle is at the moment, it is we are working with North American companies with a go-to-Europe strategy. They're already very, very successful in North America, and they're just about to put their footprint into Europe. So we engage with them around the same time as the IDA, or preferably beforehand, and we help them set up their customer support, or their customer service, tech support, or sales, depending on what their challenges are. And we are the only BPO company in Ireland focusing on that today. Okay. So we've changed in terms of, like 5 years ago, 80% of our business was coming from Indigenous Irish companies, and at this point in time, 80% of our business is coming from North American companies. So we've flipped into an export company.
Wow. So give us a sense of, let's say, that transition, because obviously you're on a different path now, but were there specific events or decisions or, things that kind of changed the course of where you guys are going, or how did that happen?
Well, I think it was, in fact I know it was the first quarter of 2009, we lost 30,000 euros a month worth of recurring revenue. Okay. The trend happened again in February, and in March, not so bad, but still on a downward trajectory. So Linda and I sat down and we said, okay, if this continues, we're going to go out of business. So we gotta do something completely different and change our strategy. And what we looked at was our client base, who we were currently working with, and which one of them were, and which group were growing. So we focused on the Googles of the world. And if you look at Google, take Google as an example, they understand data, but they don't understand customer service. And so we focused on the Googles, the EMCs, the Apples of the world, who were in a strong growth phase. And so Google was the one who I would say that was the game changer for us. We were engaging with them on a very small level, but we knew and we anticipated that they were going to have a customer service requirement which they didn't know anything about. And they gave us a small pilot of 12 people at the end of 2010, and that has grown into almost 300 people today. Wow. So that was the game changer that brought us into this growth phase. Fantastic.
That's great to hear, Dan. So let's rewind the tape. Yeah. I almost sound a bit like Jimmy McGee. But going back to even the early days of VoxPro, and I know you kind of had different incarnations of it, but what did it look like when things weren't like they are today?
Well, my memory of VoxPro, which wasn't always called VoxPro, by the way, we've had so many reincarnations in terms of brand. We were known as Pageboy Communications, and I guess nobody in the audience has ever heard of that brand. We were known as Air. Oh yeah,
there's a few. Yeah, the average age has gone up tonight.
We were known as AirPage, but when we started off the business first back in 1997, it was just 6 people over a pub in Malborough Street, and my overriding memory is we had an incredible customer base and 6 very, very talented people, 3 of whom are with me on our journey today. It really helped me working over a pub as well too, so it was great fun. Like after a tough day, we just went downstairs. Yeah. But what we bought more than anything else was an opportunity. Paging was a technology that wasn't going to grow, but what we saw was an incredibly loyal client base who we could sell more innovative technology into, and that's what we bought. And I suppose looking back on it at the end of the day, it was just, it was bloody hard work, because like we put everything into this. my business partner and wife Linda had 3 jobs. Like she worked full time in her day job and had 2 jobs in Pageboy, as it was known then, to support us as we grew the company. And like I'm very proud to say, after 16 years in business, we've grown year on year.
Brilliant. And
this year we'll see us grow enormously as well.
Congrats. So I'm curious now, right? When you were a little boy in short pants,
I'm not sure where I like where this is going, but
did you ever imagine yourself to be a businessman?
Did I ever imagine myself to be a businessman? I think I realised at a very early age I didn't like working for other people. But that being said, I had my first job at 12, and that job was collecting trolleys in a supermarket in Toker, but it was very much goal driven. Like I was out to impress my parents, who were very hard working, and my goal was, to pay for my own school books at the end of a duration doing that. And the next job I had, I worked as a collecting glasses in a bar in Turner's Cross, and when I was only there 2 weeks, I wanted to be a barman, but look, took me 2 years. But that again was goal driven. I wanted to buy my first motorbike, and so I think like having goals and objectives was with me from an early age, which stood me to very good stead in terms of my business career to date.
Yeah, geez, that's brilliant. So if you could see the lad showing up for the first day at the supermarket to collect the trolleys, and you could kind of sit him down and say, "No, young Dan, here's what you need to know." What kind of advice would you give to young Dan?
Have you got an hour rate on in terms of what I've learned along the way in terms of? Okay, number 1 would be, when you make a decision, don't look back. You've made the decision, stick with it. That would be one of the things I would tell 12-year-old Dan. The other thing would be, don't be so hard on yourself. And no harsher critic could I have than myself in terms of, I'm an overachiever, and that is a good thing, and it's also, I won't say it's a bad thing, but it can, how will I put it, enjoy the successes. Yeah. Because the successes are, with successes will come some failures as well, and we're very, very hard on ourselves when things don't go right. But we don't often stop and enjoy the successes when they come. So I think that's what I'd look back and say, right, okay, there are those 3 things.
Have you got better at enjoying the successes over time and being less harsh on yourself?
No. My wife is very grounded in terms of she has there's a very good yin and yang thing going on, and she's like, if I win something or if I achieve something, my natural instinct is, okay, I want the next thing. Okay. And when is the next thing going to happen? And she often says to me, Dan, okay, would you not enjoy today? It was an incredible achievement. So that dynamic works really well for both of us.
Good. That's great that you're getting that message. So,
not saying I'm taking any notes today. If only. If only.
I was careful with my words there, all right. So, okay, that's one aspect of it maybe, but especially let's look at the last year or two, especially when the thing has rocketed. Yeah. Maybe rocketed is, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but...
I like the word rocket.
Yeah, it's a good word, isn't it? But do you think it's changing you as a person?
It's not changing me as a person, I hope. And my friends and family can answer that for me better than I can. I hope I'm the same person as I was when I bought we bought the business in back in the day. But it most certainly has changed me as a businessman without any shadow of a doubt, because every day you have to do better. You have to do better, and I really believe that. What's the old cliche, evolve or die? Mm-hmm. And so look, I strive every day to do something different, better. That could be downloading an app. It could be researching on a course that's going to make me a better leader. So as a business person, I've changed enormously, but as a person, I hope I'm the same Dan Kiely that worked over a pub
Good man.
all those years ago.
Yeah. So you mentioned friends and family, but you have a few colleagues here with you tonight. If I asked them to describe your leadership style within the business, how do you think they'd describe it?
Well, anybody but Linda you can ask.
Okay. We'll turn it into This Is Your Life.
I think that they'd say that I'm very open. I love to talk, as you probably can gather from I haven't shut up since I sat into the chair. So communication is very important to me, and that became very. I have a very, I think, an example of how that works within the VoxPro group. We had a site visit from an American multinational the week before last, and a CEO and a senior team came to evaluate us as a prospective partner, and they arrived 15 minutes early, and the first thing they did was to talk to Julie, who we like to call the brand ambassador for VoxPro, and they asked her some very interesting questions about what was Dan Kiely like as a leader, and what was VoxPro's strategy for the next 3 years. And if the answer to those questions wasn't clear to them from Julie, that would have been a very bad thing from their perspective. So I think communication is critical, because you cannot ask people to come on a journey with you if they don't know what the journey is at the end of the day. So I think that the number one thing for me as a leader is to communicate. And in some ways, you know, I mean, I like to talk. I like people, and if you drop into VoxPro, you're most likely to see me talking to people who actually deliver the service on a day-to-day basis, over a lunch or over a coffee, because they're the ones who really knows what's going on in the business, you know. And this sounds like a cliche, but you know, I heard somebody say it recently: a fish rots from the head. And you know, you have to lead by example. So I think, you know, I mean, communication is critical. Now, Linda will have a totally different answer, but anyway.
So, right now, as you embark on this continued growth path, what's important to you now in the role that you have?
Okay, the most important thing to me is, I think everybody knows how ambitious I am. We are, and what VoxPro's vision and plan is for the next 3 to 5 years. So the most critical factor in that to us is developing a leadership team that has experience of scale, growth, and to surround ourselves with talent like that who've done it before. Because I mean, owning and running a company of 500 people is a totally different thing to running a company that employs 4,000 people in 4 different continents. So you have to get people who've surround yourself with people who've done it before, and you know, have the experience, and that's what we're focusing on right now. We have attracted some serious talent to our leadership team over the last 6 months, and expect to see some major announcements in terms of other people that are going to be joining the VoxPro journey as we grow.
Great. So when you look around at your industry, and not only your industry but also, I guess, the region, because you've referred to Cork a lot, what's your vision? How do you see this thing shaping up as an overall game?
Okay, I mean, let's look at the term call centre. It's not a term I'm overly fond of, because everybody in this room has had the experience where you've rang a foreign jurisdiction and they can't A, understand you, B, you feel, you know, have you plugged it in? Have you cleaned the screen? And these are the type of answers you're getting back. And so I'm going to use the "Who Wants to Be a Millionaire" analogy in terms of, you know, the phone a friend. And the reality of that was that when people were on the show and there was so much money at stake, they went along and hired experts. and offer them 10% in terms of the overall prize money they'd win. So we like to consider ourselves to be the experts, but without the 10%.
Okay.
So I want to change people's perception of what call centres are all about. We call ourselves centres of excellence, and so that's in terms of the industry. In terms of Cork, I think Cork has an awful lot of challenges in terms of, I don't think we represent ourselves as well as we should do. And we see that every single day in our offices in San Francisco, because our sales team out there will tell you, and they tell me and they tell Linda, on a regular basis, when they're engaging with North American companies, the first thing they're going to say is Dublin, Dublin, Dublin. So we're already on the back foot as selling Cork as an area that's a fantastic place to live, work and do business. And that's the responsibility for that lies with politicians, business leaders, business organisations to actually go out and sell Cork, because it really is a fantastic place to live and work and do business. But we need to get that message out there much more cohesively and in a more unified way.
Yeah. And as the thing builds out, you're talking about being in every continent. Do you see a scenario down the road where essentially you are a business founded in Cork but will have more people elsewhere than are based here? Or what do you think that's going to happen? Does anyone know?
I think we're going to be challenged to grow our numbers in excess of 1,000 people in Cork, and quite simply it's the lack of language skills. It's the competition for technical skill sets, and so we have to do something that as a city and as an industry to be able to grow our numbers. So that's a challenge, but that's a challenge for Dublin also, by the way. Yeah. And it's a challenge for Ireland Inc. that we need to address right now. And this isn't about putting on programs in universities. We need to be way more. What word am I looking for? Well, we need to be way more nimble in how we're going to solve that problem.
Would you consider yourself a successful person?
Look, I define myself as, well, it depends on what you define success as. There's personal success, and personally, I'm very, very lucky. I've been married to a wonderful woman, and who I've known for the last 26 years. So she's been an incredible life partner. I'm also very lucky with the family that I have and the support I've had from my family over the last 3 years as we grew and scaled the business. And by the way, support could mean me knocking at the door on a Friday night saying, "Give me a loan of 10 grand." And so I've been lucky with the support I've gotten from my family. Yeah. And also, I have a very tight network of friends who pick me up when I fall down. Sure. And when you're in business and you do fall down, and you need that support mechanism around you to be able to rely on when times get tough. So in terms of that's why personally I'm blessed with great success. On a business level, will I ever have enough success? No. If there was an opportunity to take VoxPro to the moon, would I be considering? Yes. But that's the way I'm made. So that's the way I'd answer those questions.
Fair play to you. So here's a question that springs to my mind as I hear you answering that. Do you ever see the day where you'll say, that's enough now, I'm going to take my coat and I'm going home and I'm going to play golf or do something? Do you ever see yourself panking it in?
Well, look, as you can see, I'm struggling to sit still in the chair for 45 minutes. So retirement is that word. I'd probably be in an asylum or in jail or something like that, because I just, I think it's in the genes. My father is, I think he's 77 in June and he's still working. Great. My mother retired at 70, and so it's in the genes in terms of, I don't think retirement is a word that's ever going to come into my vocabulary.
Well, yeah, I was going to bring Linda onto the stage.
Yeah.
As I say, we'll do This Is Your Life next week for you.
Sign me up.
So here's a question now that I'm curious about. Through all of this activity, as you mentioned your kind of active nature and the growth that the company has enjoyed, what's kept you on the level? What's kept you sane through all that?
I think I'd go insane without it. in terms of the world of VoxPro is kind of. I was talking about this morning in terms of I was interviewing a prospective member of the leadership team, and I was describing what it would take to succeed. And in our instance, it is being absolutely passionate about what you do. There's no such thing as a 9-to-5 job, particularly now when we've opened offices in San Francisco, and we've plans to open up one in New York by the end of 2015 as well. You just have to be. Work it has to be your focus, and I think I'd probably go insane without it.
Okay, so don't retire and keep him sane. These are the messages I'm getting there for Linda and the team. Who do you admire in the world of business, Dan?
The easiest question you've asked me this evening, and without any shadow of a doubt, the person in business I admire the most is my wife Linda, my business partner. She's an incredibly astute woman in terms of she could read a balance sheet in 2 seconds. She's very intuitive about people, and I had the pleasure to work with her 23 years ago when she was my boss in the Examiner, and we had a deadline that we needed to come up with £32,000 for the magazine to be published. And the first thing that Linda did was she got the team into a room and said, okay, we have to achieve this by Friday, and here's how we're going to do it. And one of the statements she came out with, which stays with me to this day, is it's not what you're selling, it's about what the customer wants to buy. So, and I've had the privilege of working with Linda over the last 20 years, and I admire her tremendously as a businesswoman and a business partner.
So the next question I'm going to ask you, you can't use the same answer, right?
Okay.
And that is, who or what pisses you off?
Well, I can tell you what pisses me off, and in a sentence, what pisses me off is people who settle for mediocrity. And what I mean by that is, like when you're producing something, where is the wow factor? And if you're working in VoxPro and you don't produce the wow factor, then you've no place being on the team. And when I hear expressions like industry average, or it just totally pisses me off. And you'd be surprised the number of people that actually just settle for mediocrity. It always has to have the that extra that wow factor that's going to make the difference, because we won't survive we won't keep winning multinationals if there isn't the wow factor. Have to have the wow factor, and then that's a philosophy that I can't understand why people would settle for mediocrity. And who pisses me off?
Legal team. Keep going.
Again, it's people who could do so much better. And there are, I'm not going to name names, but there are politicians out there that could do so much better. There are business leaders out there that could do so much better. It's people who just who don't realize their full potential.
Fair play. My final question to you, Dan. You're already a bit of a Superman, I have to say, but if you had a superpower, any superpower, which one would you?
Easy. Before you had that out of your mouth, I know the answer. I'd want to be able to see what the business landscape is going to look in 6 to 12 months' time, so I can anticipate where the technology is going, what our customers are going to want, where they're going to be. So that's the superpower I'd like to have.
Well, that's brilliant. The only reason I asked you that question was so that Naomi would draw you in a cape. Ladies and gents, Boulevard for Dan Kiely.